Wake Up MLS here with your latest predictions video. Very weird week this week. Rivalry week. It's throwing everything off. This technically is match day 14, but I think, and somebody correct me on this, I believe we get match day 14 and 15 kind of all in the same week. A full slate of matches for rivalry week right in the middle. So we're recording this on a Tuesday night. The video will come out Wednesday morning, tomorrow, ahead of 13 different matchups for Major League Soccer, all happening in the span of this a week and a half to 2 week rivalry week. So there's a lot of action midweek. And then we got match day 15 on Saturday with another full slate of matches. We're going to save that for another video, a special second video coming later in the week. But tonight, on short order request, I am joined by Hitman Honda, our LA Galaxy fan, and of course, the recently Twitter deactivated Ednan of We Are Austin TV. Ednan, how we doing, bro? How is the social media treating you these days now that it's a little bit lighter?
Man, dude, I finally walking outside. I'm looking at the clouds. I'm looking at the grass. You know, I forgot that there's a world out there, dude.
Did you touch the grass? Did you touch the grass?
I touched the grass. I touched the grass.
Yeah, bro. It's important. It's important. A little work-life balance never hurt anybody. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, go check out Match Day 13 predictions on the Wake Up MLS series here on Goals TV channel. I respect to Ednan, bro. He may do on his word. FC Dallas took down Austin FC at Toyota Stadium, and unfortunately, Ednan kind of had to eat his words a little bit and kind of go off Twitter for a while. But We Are Austin TV, still very, very active. If you want to chat with Ednan, that is the place to go find him. So definitely do all those things. All right. Let's waste any more time. Let's jump into the predictions. As usual, with our new format, we have 5 key matchups to hone in on in detail for the video today. And then we're doing quick fire predictions for every other matchup as part of the Wednesday slate for MLS Rivalry Week. All right, so let's jump into it. First one on the docket for today. Lads, DC United hosting the New York Red Bulls. DC 4-5-3, 17 points, 7th in the East. Still pretty good compared to where I had them. 3-2 win over Atlanta. We'll talk about that. And the Red Bulls, man, still looking good. 5-5-2, 20 points, top 3 in the East. Coming off a weird 6-goal, I guess, thriller against the Revolution. They somehow bagged 2 goals against a good Red Bulls team, but a win's a win. They take down their Northeast rivals, and they're sitting there top 3 in the East. All right, boys. This is kind of a crazy game, and from my perspective, biggest reason why Red Bulls have this really weird streak against DC United at the moment. They've won the last 3 matches, all in 2023 against this team, and frankly, they haven't lost DC United in the last 6 times they played them. But this is a very different version of DC United. I think DC can score not at will, but pretty close to it with how many chances they're creating right now. They haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 6 matches, but with how many chances they're creating, that might be okay. Both of these teams basically top 10 scoring in the league at the moment. Ednan, let's start with you, bro. We'll go over to Honda here in a second. How do you – I know we're Western Conference guys. That's okay. Yep. We may not watch the East quite as much, but based on what you know about these teams, how do you see this one shaking out?
Man, look, first of all, I want to start off with this game prediction by saying DC, I'm sorry. I felt like I disrespected them early on this season. And they're really a team they're a force to be reckoned with. Benteke, a guy that we knew he has quality. We knew this guy has been fantastic. And I had my doubts about him. Not only is he scoring goals, he's putting this team on his back almost. But I saw an interesting stat. The fact that he leads aerial duels by a lot. I believe he's like 130, 140s, and second place is like 60 or 50. So this dude is physical. This dude is getting up in the air, and he's also scoring goals. Now, I do want to give Red Bulls New York their respect. They are 3rd in the East, like you have on the graphic here for us. They got a 4-2 win over New England, but dude, my Sunday League team can beat New England right now. And seriously, and with the way that I'm seeing that the players are talking to the coach, I have big I'm sorry, that's New England, so nothing to do with New York.
You're good.
But anyways, just to settle it, I have DC United winning this game, mate. I think they're the hot hand. And I'm going to roll with them.
I mean, it's not a bad shot. I think either one of these teams, it's probably going to be closer than we think. Honda, I mean, do you granted, I actually what Ednan's doing, because it's honestly probably a safe pick to back the home team in a game this close. I think the Red Bulls are I think people are waiting for this team to fuck up. Maybe. I think, we're looking at maybe the past few seasons of Red Bulls thinking that team's got to show up at some point. I don't think it's the Forsberg effect, but I think that there's something different with this team right now. Are they doing enough, Honda, to pull off an upset against a decently playoff worthy team, or at least playoff position team in the tougher Eastern Conference right now?
I want to talk about both teams, actually, because both teams at one point, I'm pretty sure not just me, but a few others around in the MLS community are expecting them to dip off, especially DC United. In the beginning, I said, when are they going to dip off? They haven't. And it's because of one man, like he said, Christian Benteke. How many aerial duels? One, by the way?
Yeah, bro, he has like 140, 150.
But it's not just him. I will say it's also Jared Stroud. He's like, I think Stroud is like number 1 or 2 in the league in terms of creating big chances. So if all
Austin FC player.
Yeah, bro, he is being put to very good use at DC United. And it's kind of crazy. Well, one, it's kind of crazy you guys weren't able to keep him. I don't know how that trade and everything kind of worked out, but imagine Austin FC with Jared Stroud and the way he's playing right now. But all Benteke kind of has to do, Hannah, to not to cut you off too much, but not stand there, but he's getting a lot of opportunities his way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like how Zlatan Ibrahimovic, when he came into the league, he just needed to be in that area. His physical presence was just there. And look, it's only a difference of 3 points between these two, by the way. And the difference. So
it'll be crazy.
DC United's at home. I do want to give New York Red Bulls credit, but DC United is still looking nice. I think DC United win like 2-1, 3-2.
I want to say just one more thing. The fact that this game for DC United, if you win, it's 3 points. But if you want to get real sicko mode about it, it can be a game that's kind of worth 6 points because you win against a conference rival, but just like Honda pointed out, it's only a 3-point difference. So you beat these guys and you also equal them on points. It doesn't matter if there's a gap of a 4 spot gap. It's only 3 points. So you beat them, you get your 3, but you also have the chance to maybe jump them, equal them. So it's kind of like a 6-point match.
And you prove to yourself that, hey, I'm here to stay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What's crazy about that too, what Ednon just said is that even on goal differential, right? Go tiebreakers and whatnot. If they win 2-0, they are exactly tied with the New York Red Bulls. Like exactly on points on goal differential.
And also, let's just be frank. Let's just be very honest. We need a good DC United season. They're one of the most historic teams in MLS. They've been bad for so long. We really need DC United to have one of those seasons that say, hey, you know what, dude, MLS is really cooking right now.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think Benteke would also appreciate that, man, 100%. With his pedigree. So, yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one way or the other,
who do you got? Yeah,
this is tough, bro. This is tough. I think I don't even know how big of a rivalry this really is. It could be one that's massive. I think, like Edon said, DC's been bad for so long that like maybe it's lost its luster a little bit. I'm gonna go with the upset. It could be a massive swing for DC United, but I think the Red Bulls will have something to say. I think if Morgan finds his scoring boots, he's one of the top 5 scorers in the league at the moment. If they score first, I think it's going to be difficult for DC to. I don't think they'll feel shell-shocked in any kind of way, but I think that it's just going to rattle them a little bit. And if they start trying to force opportunities, get up the field too quickly, and not let build-up play happen, despite how much of a high-volume offense that they are, I think if the Red Bulls score first, it could just rattle them. So it could be a draw, but I'm going to say it's going to be a close, like 1-0. 1-0 upset on the road. And hearing myself say that DC will score 0 goals at home feels weird. But I think rivalry week already with the games this past weekend has been a weird week. Like
this is MLS. At the end of the day, anything can happen.
It is, bro. Anything can happen. And I feel like that shit was cemented this past week with some of the results that came through. So that's what I'm going to say. I might be the black sheep here. It might feel like a weird pick, but I'm going to back the Red Bulls. We'll see how it all goes down. All right, let's move over to Texas, a rivalry game that we recently saw play out, maybe just a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago. We saw how it went down. Last time, Austin did take down Houston on the road. This time, they are hosting at the Q2. We see how close these two teams actually are, 7th and 8th in the West. Austin is coming off of this very fluky loss to Dallas. And I as an FC Dallas fan, I will call it that. It was a game where I was there. The Dallas scored very early on a very weird mistake from Sebastian Driussi. I think it was one where it just felt like it set the table and the tone for maybe how the game would go. Dallas went back to old ways a little bit, a very pragmatic counterattacking team. Fair play to Dallas. They took advantage of their opportunities. Whereas Austin really could not. They created a lot more, had more possession of the ball, and just frankly just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, or even I would say create meaningful big chances. Like it was just kind of like a weird fluky game. So Austin kind of showing me a little bit that they're going to be a better road team than we've seen the past couple seasons. And I think that, at the Q2, they've already proven that they could take down big teams. We went to the LA Galaxy game recently. So you look at this game, right, and how close they are on the table. I would almost completely move away from the recent results we saw this past weekend and just focus on the fact that Austin has never let Houston come into the Q2 and win. It's never happened. And Houston, most importantly, are the lowest scoring team in the West at this moment. They're also tied for the least goals conceded, but it just kind of shows you how much of a catch-22 this Houston team is right now. So with that said, I'll get to Ednon here in a second. I know that take's going to be very interesting for us, but let's tease it a little bit with Honda. Honda, man, I know you watched the game. How do you feel about Houston's chances coming into the Q2, considering that they couldn't even deal with Austin at home just a few weeks ago?
Here's the thing as well, too. They can deal with Austin at home, first of all. Second of all, I think it's going to be more up to what Austin can do. And Austin is not going to make the same mistakes that they did versus Dallas, right? They're going to focus on those key points. And I see them winning. I'll be honest with you. I do see them winning this. And not easy, however, not easy because of Houston's defense again. But I do see maybe like a 1-0, 2-1.
Yeah, I can see that. Let me ask you, Honda, before we move on to Ednon. As a neutral, is there anybody on this Houston team that can pose any kind of threat? Like, is Ache just kind of pick up the team up on his back and try to do something? Will Carrasquilla maybe show up a little bit? I really can't count on guys like Aliyu. I know he's like, seemingly one of their better options without some of the guys. I don't know, man. It just Ferreira too. It's just it seems like their tried and true attackers just aren't firing at the moment. So are they gonna have to rely upon the big DP they have, or how's it gonna work for them?
I feel like if anything, they're gonna have to rely on set pieces. But even then, still, Austin is pretty good at defending from what I saw versus Galaxy as well too, the set pieces. But Hector Herrera, Carrasquilla, they're gonna have to figure out something to be creative.
They have to test two from distance. To be honest, I think that's gonna have to be create your own high volume chances. In all honesty, and I think this sets up Ednon pretty well. For your take, man. I know I'm almost positive on how you see this game going, but what do you think? I'll ask you this question, then you can go into the whole take. What do you think will be different this week? With Austin, do they read into that Dallas result too much, or do they let it roll off their back and still go into this derby match against Houston pretty confidently?
I don't think that we're going to see anything different from Austin FC from the result from the game that we saw against FC Dallas. I think what we're going to see a change in is in this Houston Dynamo side from the team that played Austin a couple weeks ago, like you said. When Austin beat the Houston Dynamo, the Dynamo was without their talisman. Ache, that was his return game. He saw minutes at the end, and I was there. The entire crowd at Shell Energy got on their feet and clapped for this guy because they know what he means for the atmosphere. They know what he means for the confidence of the team. And they know what he means when it comes to changing a game with goals. We look back at the game that they just had against Sporting Kansas City. My days, you guys talking about outside shots. Ache scored an absolute banger of a goal. I mean, I had to double check and see, was that really Ache? So we still see what kind of qualities this guy has in his bag. That's why you can't really give him any kind of space, because he can just let that shot out. And why do I say that we're not going to see any change in Austin is because, we got to speak to a lot of the players after the game, post-match in the player mix zone. And Drusi, he actually talked to the media. He came out, talked to Football Critic, and he told him, he was like, dude, he didn't say dude. He was like, man, honestly, I couldn't get that mistake out of my head the entire first half. He was like, it was hard for me to get that out of my head. He said it's never happened to him, and he knew he messed up. Now, Pereira came out, he spoke to the media, and he said that as soon as they saw Drusi committed that horrible back pass no look where he really should have picked up his head and see who was back there, but it is Drusi. You think that he's going to get that 9 out of 10 times or 10 out of 10 times, whatever. But Danny says, he's like, hey, this is Drusi. He saves us millions of times. Why are we going to tear at him? Why are we going to rip him off if we know that maybe against Houston or against SKC, which is coming up Saturday, he can score the winning goal, he can score a brace, he can even drop a hat trick of assist if he's not the one putting the ball into the back of the net. And against Dallas, Jose, you even mentioned it earlier, you just didn't put any like numbers on it, but your take was spot on. Austin played a different way away from home. They played in a fashion that we've never seen these guys. They had 20 shots. 5 of them were on target. You were right. You said that none of them were really meaningful chances, but 20 shots on target. And when we talk about possession, we know Austin loves to have the ball. And Dallas, maybe their plan was to give them the ball and let Austin mess up, which they kind of did. Austin had 65% possession. And Valencia was also one of the players that spoke with us at the end of the match. We asked him, we were like, hey, what happened? Was it just bad luck, or why didn't things go you guys' way, and what are you going to change thinking about Houston? And they said, you know what, we're not going to change anything because we played a great game. The luck was just not on our side, and that's why the ball didn't go into the back of the net. Just one instance that I want to mention. Guilherme Biru, who picked up a knock and is questionable against Houston now, but he had a shot that hit the post. And when the ball comes off of the post, Drusi is the first person that could meet the ball, and it goes inches away from his ankle. Even if he didn't even try to hit the ball, if the ball would have been a couple more inches to the left or to the right, it would have gone into the goal just off of a ricochet from Drusi. Could have been offsides. I don't know. They didn't. That's a whole other question. But it's just things didn't go Austin FC's way. However, I strongly believe that the game plan against Dallas was the right one, and I'm pretty sure they're going to use the same mentality, the same plan, the same mindset to go into this Houston game. And yes, it is going to be a very different Dynamo team. They probably understand that 100%, but they're going to have the crowd with them. It is going to be midweek, Jose. We know it's going to be midweek, but I do think that the crowd is going to give this team a boost. And just like you said, Houston has never won at Q2, and hopefully it stays like that.
Yeah, I agree, bro. And by the way, welcome in, John. John, welcome in, brother.
Welcome,
he's
John.
back in. He's back in.
Apologies. You know, sometimes the mid-afternoon nap after work, you lay your head down and you're like, I'm gonna need that little bit of a boost of energy to come back on. But yeah,
bro, you're good. You're good. I've been there myself, bro. You're good. But yeah, I think to piggyback on what you said, like I mentioned before, I think I was sitting there at the stadium just impressed with what I was seeing from Austin. I knew that Dallas would concede possession. I just didn't expect the sheer number of opportunities that Austin would get, and not out of anything Dallas did incorrectly. In fact, I thought Dallas actually for the first time in a couple games actually set up well defensively in a low block to try and prevent opportunities where they could. But you know, Austin was mixing it up. They were taking shots from outside. They were finding crosses. They were trying to build up play to the middle, even after the Driussi mistake. And I think it was so uncharacteristic of him that it's a one-off. I don't think it's something that you can continue to expect from him. But I will say this, and I heard it on MLS wrap-up, I believe, right in extra time from BWP, right? From Bradley Wright. I think, and I might know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, the comment that Austin is not necessarily the same team if Driussi can be shut down. If you could take him out of the equation, there is a very straightforward plan to neutralizing Austin FC. I think that there is some truth to that. But I think that the more the season goes on, if you can have moments like this, because for me, this was, in my opinion, if I was an Austin FC fan, God forbid, if I was an Austin FC fan, I would look at this moment and say, this could be a season-altering moment, even with the L, because it shows you that despite the mistake, Austin FC was still able to keep plugging away, keep being a threat in this game, and do it even without Driussi at 100%, because he wasn't. You said it yourself. Mentally, he just wasn't there for the rest of the first half. He couldn't get beyond that mistake that he made because he never really does it. And if you have to have moments throughout the season leading up to Leagues Cup and even beyond that, leading into playoffs, where you can't rely upon him for whatever reason, if it's injury, if it's suspension, if it's whatever, I think there's some confidence that you can take from that and say, you know what, we can rely on Pereira, we can rely on other players, right? Whoever it may be, to help us build up play and get results over the line. So I think there's something there that you can that Austin fans can positively take from that result. And I fully expect Austin to win this game. They should. I think Stuver was how close away, Anand, from that record?
It was 22 minutes that he needed to survive, and Peter Musa scores in the 3rd minute.
It was so tough, bro. I was like, man, he was this close from a record, and just a fluke back pass, no look. It made no sense. I honestly thought I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, did Driussi just give that pass? I look over my wife.
Yep.
Like, was that him?
Yep.
And
everybody
sure
said the same.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Now, just super quick, just one thing I do want to say. Hector isn't here, and I would love to hear what a Dynamo fan has to say. I don't think that the Detroit loss is going to linger too much on their mind. I think that's kind of done with. I think maybe Ben Olsen is going to regret more what he said, because the media has been tearing him. But it was a bit of a laugh. Haha, you lost to a USL side. It is what it is now. Austin FC fans been there before, maybe once or twice. The Olet incident also. But I'm very excited to see how Houston comes into this match mentally, because Austin has a loss where they know that they were the better side. And then Houston lost against Detroit, and Ben Olsen, he was like, I don't think I've ever put out a better Open Cup team ever. So that kind of says a lot too. So I'm really excited to see in what mental space Dynamo comes into this game.
It's really interesting. It's like, even when you compare it to Austin's loss to Violeta, it was like, there were moments that were building up to that, and then that was the climax, right? For Austin negatively, it was like, oh my God, we've never been down bad. I think Houston's a little bit. I'm not saying Detroit City FC is Violeta by any means, but they had a string of negative or iffy results, and then it culminates with that Open Cup loss on the back of Olsen putting out arguably one of his best ever Open Cup sides. I'm also equally very curious to see how this impacts the mentality going into another derby match on the back of several others. and what team we can expect to show up. I think that there will be some pride at stake for the Dynamo, and I expect them to show up. But my prediction in this game is I think it's going to carry through for Austin again. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be up maybe another 1-0 like it was last time, even despite Austin being the home team this time around, mainly because it's a midweek game. I think the Q2 will still be popping. It'll still be, a force to be reckoned with in some form or fashion, but it's a midweek game. It's MLS. Houston will have more to say, I think, this time around, at least on the pitch, maybe not on the score line, but I can see 1-0 Austin in this one. How do you guys, let's start with John, bro. He's fresh off a nap. How we feeling on this one, John?
I'm actually back Austin.
I'm
actually back in Austin.
Somebody check this man. Somebody check this man.
Listen, Ernan, like we gotta be serious, all right? The only reason I tipped you guys to lose last week is because you were talking shit about my team.
Hey, was that ball knowledge though? Hey, was that ball knowledge though? John got 2-0. You were like, hey.
I cooked.
He could.
But like I just think that Austin's gonna come out hungry against Houston. Like we talked about it a lot. Like I think Houston's very Achacha dependent. I think that they're not outside of him. They don't really have anyone that I could see like kind of provides them a spark in a way. So I think that based on the result, I mean, obviously losing to a rival in a game where you feel like you were the better side, and obviously unfortunate circumstances in that game led them to losing that game. But I feel like with that, I mean, yes, it's midweek, so you kind of got to turn it around. But I feel like in those midweek games, especially in games where you felt like you were there and you should have won, are the games where I feel like you come back and you kind of pounce on that. So I don't disagree with you. I think it'll be a 1-0, 2-0 type thing. Do I think it's going to be from open play? Probably not. But we'll see. We'll see kind of how it goes. But I back Austin on this one.
Yeah. And just to note, I don't know what John was saying, right? Does it come from open play or not? I actually agree. I think, especially from Houston's perspective, the only team that has scored less than the Houston Dynamo in all of MLS this season is the New England Revolution. There is no other team that has scored less goals. So it bodes well for Stuver in that defense, and all Austin really has to do is figure out how to piece together the offensive part of it.
Corners are pieces of their strength, really. Honestly, they've got more goals out of there than anything else. So.
Yeah. We'll see how it all nets out. Honda, before we move on, how do you see this one going?
Listen, I said 2-1 for FC Dallas, right, last week. But Austin is going to get that 2-1 today or tomorrow. They'll win.
A goal for Houston, I just don't see where it's going to come from. But who knows? Actually might get a banger from out of nowhere. We'll see. And Austin getting 2. Yeah, I mean, the Galaxy game proved me wrong. I thought 2 against the Galaxy was going to be wild, and they did it. So, to a corner and something else happening. I mean, I still think they could get a goal from open play, but that's where the goal coming from. But we'll see. Either way, a goal difference for these two. We all collectively have Austin winning. If Houston pulls off an upset, it's going to be massive. And again, kind of historic to an extent. They've never won at the Q2 Stadium. All right, let's move on to our next matchup, which is St. Louis City at City Park hosting LAFC. St. Louis, I don't know how to feel about this team right now, mainly because of 7 draws. They're 3-7-1, 16 points, 9th in the West, coming off that 3-1 win over John Chicago Fire. And then we have LAFC also in a weird spot, 5-3-4, 18 points, just narrowly over them, 5th in the West, though. So 4 spots in a 1-game swing. And the 3-0 win over Vancouver was comprehensive, man. I'll be honest, they completely debunked any sort of counterattacking, pragmatic brand that I was putting on LAFC leading up to this point against a good Vancouver team. So granted, it was at home, but I'll also give them credit. Interesting notes with this game, though. St. Louis have not lost any game since that 3-1 loss to RSL back on the 30th. And they've had 5 games since then. They're unbeaten in the last 7 home games. LAFC are top 5 in leagues in the league in goals scored at the moment. 12 goals scored in the last 5 matches for LAFC. So, but despite the slow start that they've had, Cherundolo's men are now coming out swinging every fucking game since then. Let's start with Ednon this one. I know Ednon's kind of maybe a closeted LAFC fan. So we might know kind of how this was going to go from his perspective. Ednon, how you feeling about your LAFC boys in this one?
Well, first of all, if there's any truth to that, it might be because of the Chivas USA connection. But I plead the fifth. But, this is something that I kind of hinted on one of the Goats TV episodes kind of early on this season. We were talking about LA slow start, just like you said, mate. And I was like, you know what? These guys, this is kind of like who they are now. They know how to work an MLS season. You got to do it a certain way. They don't care if it's slow in the beginning. because they kick it on right about now and they don't stop until the playoffs. Now we'll see if this season they can also do that. You know, you have various pieces in this team that need to work well together in order to achieve some of those goals that they've accomplished in previous years. But I think it's same old LAFC this year. I think they're going to be good. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're going to be a powerhouse in the West. And like I said earlier, it was a slow start. Get used to this LAFC side, because beating 3-0 Vancouver, just like you said, mate, and no superstar scored in this game. I believe it was Oliveira and Bogusz. I mean, you usually expect, this typical suspects like Boanga, whatever big names they have there now. But LAFC, I'm really impressed with how they've been handling things as of late. But then you also have St. Louis, a team that last year they had a fantastic season. They haven't really been carrying over it this year, though, but they still have quality. 16 points versus 18. They're 3-7-1. St. Louis, although they're home, I see LAFC either winning or getting a draw. I don't want to put a number on it, and I'm sorry, but I see LAFC getting a result from this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably safe to say now with the recent form, right, that they're at least going to get goals. It's just a matter of how many, and granted, it also depends on, I think, how well St. Louis City play on the back of their fans at home in a midweek game. We'll see how they turn out, and they sold out every single game up to this point. We'll see how the first midweek matchup of this season looks. Honda, I think you've been pretty fair about both of these teams so far. I don't think you've been like, I know I've been critical of LAFC on this show, but I don't think you really kind of floated one way or the other on these guys. I think
believe me, I was talking my shit to LAFC.
Well, yeah, I would say for a Galaxy fan, trust me, bro, I don't think you've been crazy. You're not burning jerseys on the timeline. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you've been fair. You understand this is a good team, no matter what. Even if you're not always picking them to win every week. So, how do you see this one going?
Listen, I'm never gonna give LAFC more than a draw. But let me take off the shirt real quick. LAFC did fantastic last week. They won 3-0 to Vancouver side, who was supposed to be top 2, top 3, right around there.
Yep.
St. Louis, they're in their sophomore kind of slump. I can't see LAFC winning this and winning it significantly as well too. However, St. Louis, right? They're at home. They're gonna want to prove themselves. Like, hey, I don't want to be that team that's just like mid, right? They want to prove themselves a little bit more. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the draw on this one, 1-1 for me.
Yeah, I mean, it could prove out that way, right? Keep in mind, the last 5, they've won 2, they've drawn 3, and the 3 draws have come against FC Dallas at home, 0-0. Mm-hmm. They've come to Sporting Kansas City on the road, 3-3, and on the road to the Dynamo, 0-0. It's just a really weird team. That rivalry game, I'll put an asterisk on it because in rivalries, form doesn't matter. They each netted 3 goals, but 2 0-0s against teams that, frankly, right now in Dallas and Houston cannot score. I mean, they can, but like it really kind of has to be like a very efficient, pragmatic approach, very direct. It's just I agree with you. I don't know what's.
Listen, all I'm just saying is Austin, right? They beat Galaxy 2-0 at home. What's to say that St. Louis doesn't beat LAFC?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Very, very good take. So just to be clear, you don't have LAFC winning this game.
I have a draw for them. Well, okay. I can see them winning, but I have a draw for them.
Okay. John, how about you?
I mean, like I said last week, I don't really give a fuck about St. Louis. But I really don't.
But you just saw them play, right? So are you inspired by them at all?
No. Well, the thing is, like, they're playing against us, bro. Come on, be serious. Like,
especially too,
bro. Like, without like there being any like home bias on my team, right? Because I feel like you always have to back your team regardless of whatever, right?
Sure.
My team are shit. Like, let's just be completely honest. My team's shit. You won 3-1. Like, good job. Like, you won 3-1. You know, against a really shit team. Like, you guys are really doing a lot over there. I think that LA proved a lot more against a stronger Vancouver side than St. Louis did, in my opinion. I feel like St. Louis still has a lot to prove. Now, granted, it is midweek. Short week. They're still at home. They don't have to travel anywhere. They're going to be chilling. LA traveled to Vancouver, right? So they're traveling from...
No. Vancouver was in LA.
But still, LA's traveling midweek. It's a quick turnaround. For that reason, I'm going to go St. Louis. They're going to end up winning this game just because I feel like the travel is going to weigh them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I feel like St. Louis can use this game as something to kind of get something to prove, you know?
I agree.
Prove to everyone else that they're just not going to be this pushover and have this midseason slump. Like, this could be, one of the games that kind of gets it going for them a little bit as we go into the summer break and all this. So they could use this game and they can net out a win on here, especially because that home crowd is like insane.
And prove to Marco Royce, not even just to the prove to Marco Royce that you guys are a team worth a player like that, right?
Yeah,
the links to him and whatnot.
I honestly, like, it's one of those things where, like I said, they need to get the ball rolling in some way. I think this is the game where you kind of do that, and you have to prove to yourselves that you're still able to be competitive. You're still able to compete against one of the stronger sides in LAFC. But I think LAFC is not going to push over. If anything, it's going to be like a 2-1, 3-2 type of a win. I don't know if there's going to be that much goals, but I think it'll be tight. It'll be close. 1-0, 2-1. I think it'll be one of those situations, but I feel like St. Louis has enough to, because of the lack of travel, to get it done.
And for frame of reference for everybody, the last times that these two teams played in St. Louis, which was back in last September, it ended 0-0. The game in LA, they've only played each other twice, right? So the game in LA last year was 3-0 LAFC. Mm-hmm. And that was the Western Conference champions, St. Louis City SC. So now you look at the team this season, right? There's something worth of note there. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think I guess it's be like a 1-1, you know, like I think it may be like a draw. Like I'll be honest, I don't see St. Louis City winning. I think if somebody does win, it'll be LAFC. Yeah. But it's just because of the form. Like the form is everything for them right now. The two wins that St. Louis City have right now are against Chicago in the last 5, Chicago and Austin. And Chicago's down bad, and it was even a different version of Austin in that 1-0 victory, you can argue. So I don't know, man. It's hard to gauge where they're at. LAFC just seems a little more complete. So if there is a dub, it's probably them, but I'm going to say 1-1. Ednan, we already got your prediction, right? What was it going to be?
So I didn't put a number on it, but I said LA could get the result, either win or draw.
Okay, so I think we all have it collectively, right? Either win for LAFC or draw across this one all the way around. So we'll see how it goes down. But if you disagree with us in the comments, please let us know.
I'm not dying on the hill. They could have a draw. Matter of fact, they could lose. I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah. We'll see how it all nets out. But that's a great segue for our next match, the 4th of the 5 that we're talking about today. Chicago Fire hosting Charlotte FC, one of John's other favorite team, Charlotte FC, led by Dean Smith.
You know, I don't even have a problem with Charlotte, to be fair.
Yeah,
I don't know. It wasn't really even Dean Smith. I just thought that they were boring to watch, like last year.
Well, we'll definitely find out.
I still think they're a bit boring to watch. That opinion hasn't changed. It's still boring to watch.
Yeah. What's more boring? Being like an attack who's recently signed, a big name player and can't net out goals, but the XG is through the roof, or a boring team who nets out these string of 1-0 results and 6-6 on the table.
That's been Dean Smith his whole managerial career. Like, are we really shocked by that?
Not the championship.
Be honest. It's not like he's been this manager that you'll see over here smashing people 4-0, 5-0. Even when he was at Villa, like there wasn't a consistent. There's no history on Dean Smith that you can tell me where he's been so attacking, just constantly been over teams. Like honestly, this first year for Charlotte's going to be this kind of cleanup, kind of figure out what we have, figure out who's good enough to be here, what we need to kind of get going. So have they done well? Of course they have, because I mean the amount of points that they have speaks for itself. But I think that even this little 1-0, results here that they're getting, they're going by. I mean, it's building up momentum for them, but it doesn't really it's not. If you see Charlotte, you're not saying like this is an MLS contender. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't scream out to you. I think, and what I mean by boring, and I don't mean to offend anyone. I mean it gets results, but it's not the most attractive football to watch.
That's fair. But to be fair, on the other side of that coin, I think MLS, to an extent, there are a lot of teams like that who don't play maybe the most attractive brand of football, but they net results. I think with some of these expansion teams, especially right now, that is what means most to the fans. But I think I agree with you. I think you're not wrong with that take. I will say this, though, but I will disagree. It's not the Premier League, but in the championship, Dean Smith was cooking. He was cooking.
Yeah, but that's championship.
Fair. Lower division football. I agree. But with that said, for the sake of this matchup, interesting stats. I think when we're looking at predicting how this game could go, even despite Chicago being at home, Chicago have not scored in the last 3 matches. They're winless in the last 5.
We scored last game, no?
Mm-hmm. Last 3 home matches. Sorry, home matches. Okay. Home matches. Winless in the last 5 altogether. Yeah. Charlotte haven't won. Now, with that said, Charlotte have not won an away game in the last 7. Right. So if there is kind of any sort of building block here for Chicago to get a result that maybe they can build off of moving forward, that I think speaks to me. With that said, historically between these two teams, I know Charlotte came into the league in 2022. I believe was their first inaugural season. Chicago has only defeated Charlotte once ever, and it was the very first meeting that these two teams had back in the early stages of 2022 when they beat them 3-2. Ever since that, it's been Charlotte all the way through for the next three. So, as Hondo alluded to, with that said, I still think there's some hope for Chicago in this one. I think Charlotte's poor away form this season offers you a lifeline. I think you got to find a way to put the ball in the back of the fucking net at this point.
I'll let you cook for a second, but God, that's a lot of optimism for this team.
I'm trying for there to be some kind of optimism. I'm putting myself in Hugo Kuiper's shoes and saying, why the hell did I leave Europe and come to MLS if we're not going to even be able to string something positively together? Now, it's still early days in the season. We're in match day 14 of nearly 40 matches in the league that will happen. But it's like, at some point, this has to start even clicking remotely, even if you're netting out draws in some of these results to build onto a win, right? So, Honda, you raised your hand there. Let's go over to you really quick. How do you see this one going?
One man only. Big booty Shaqiri needs to get off the pitch, get onto the bench, sit his ass down, stay there, because he's not doing anything for that club. Besides take the money.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that point. This is just, let me cook for a second here. My problem has always been with the lack of accountability that these managers have directed towards Shaqiri, and given the fact that he's supposed to be our guy, he's supposed to be the guy that we look for to create, to be able to start the attack, kind of transition it over. Realistically, we don't really have that transitional piece that we need. So we talked about it. I think at the time when we signed Kylian Acosta, we thought that he was going to bring a little bit into that, and he was going to be able to help Shaqiri transition.
But he hasn't.
He hasn't.
He's actually been dog shit.
No, he has. He's been really poor. I think, matter of fact, every time I look at it, like we haven't really had a piece in the midfield to be able to kind of just outlet and be able to be the one that from the back, be able to start it off and kind of pinpoint it and get Shaqiri kind of help in that way. We haven't really done that, but still, Shaqiri has not been accountable for the amount of things that he's lacked to do in the attack. Whether that's it's crazy to me how he can be outshined by a teenager that has been in the academy for a couple of years, and every single time that he's on the bench or he's been unavailable, Brian Gutierrez steps up, and it's something that I think people are starting to notice now. I think this season a little bit more just based on how he started. But I've been seeing it for a while. Guti has been that little piece where I believe he didn't get his first MLS goal till this season. But even then, he had still been creating. It's still been helping out. So there's just a little bit of that creativity missing in the midfield. I don't know what the fix is, because legit with what we have if Mauricio Pereira Pineda is not playing center back, he's usually in that DM role. But we really have a bunch of DMs with no creative output, and having someone else in that midfield that is able to actually create. The only one that kind of does it is Fabi, but Fabi gives me a little bit more when he's a little bit higher up on the pitch, so it doesn't really make sense to play him so far deep. But like, I don't really know how to fix this roster. I think that every single time we've been talking about the offseason and stuff, we've needed defenders. We've needed defenders. Obviously, the defenders that we brought in this season have been very poor. I think that Chris Brady, for the amount of wonderful things that he's done, the defense hasn't really helped him out as much as it probably should. I think we've seen that regression a little bit in our back line. Like, there's just a lot of fundamental issues in this roster, which, as you say, like, it could be one of those games where, the fire can get going. But from my opinion and from what I've seen from this team, it's just difficult to get that optimism going when a lot of the problems, I couldn't even tell you how to fix them because I don't feel like we have the quality of players to help solve those problems. And that's just kind of where we've been at for the past 2-3 years. It's been difficult to kind of push forward and continue and wanting to rebuild and be this better side. And we can bring in all these strikers and stuff and all these attackers and everything you want. But at the end of the day, the result hasn't really changed with our back line. And if our back line can't transition from getting out and building it up, there's not really much hope for us in there. So we've done a better job in creating chances, but we haven't been able to put them away. And I don't even know what the chances that we've created, how good they've actually been, because it's a metric that it's kind of hard to really see unless you look at like really the clear-cut chances that we've had that we missed. But like I said, I don't know.
Chicago Fire is going through what LA Galaxy went through previous years as well too. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just bringing in a bunch of players, seeing it, hoping, praying that something works out, and it doesn't always work out, right? Like, what was it? Only one season where Zlatan Ibrahimovic made it into the playoffs and deep in, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
like, that's the days that you guys are going through.
Yeah, but the thing is like, Chicago's starting to make signings, right? And not even just with Kuipers. It started with Shaqiri and the crazy fucking salary and DP spot they gave him, which I've always believed it doesn't matter where he's been. I've never seen Shaqiri be the playmaker, the go-to guy. He's always been a supplemental, a piece off the bench to offer you something different to change the game. But he's never been a player that you build a team around. So that was interesting. But Kellen Acosta is one that we never talk about on this show. Like, what is he doing? Like, the guy was supposed to be a massive sign to help solidify the midfield, a seasoned veteran, a champion of this league, and and a U.S. men's national team player, and has more than enough experience at that level.
I don't know if it's just me, but I always thought he was overrated, to be honest.
I agree with you.
When it came to like the U.S. midfield, and I think you guys, obviously you guys know I don't watch the U.S. like that, but I can give this sort of input because every time I watch Mexico play the U.S. and every single game that we played, even when Acosta was playing, I never thought that he was going to be the guy that was going to like give us trouble or change the game for them, in the sense of like you obviously you have McKinney, you have multiple other players in that position, which I mean he hasn't really been able to solidify that starting spot. But even when he was a starter, I wasn't really ever concerned. And this is not me like
he's not that kind of guy though.
No,
he's not not a game changer. Like he's someone that should be solid, a rock, a defensive mid that just shores up your midfield. You know what he can do. He can break up counterattacks, break up transitions. He's a force in front of the back line.
But even then though, like if that's what he's supposed to be, that's not what we really needed. We have multiple defensive mid. I think I could think of 3 defensive midfielders that we already have on this roster. Navarro isn't really getting much playing time anymore, just based on the fact that we play Gaston and Acosta, and I feel like Navarro is better than both of them. But I think that he doesn't get much playing time because sometimes he's a little hot-headed and he'll get into tackles, and as soon as he kind of gets going, like that becomes a problem. So, but I do feel like Navarro is a little bit better than both of them, like in that defensive midfield role. But we have 3 defensive midfielders. We don't really have a midfielder that's like, all right, you're here to help transition. Like, pipeline dream, right? You get Modric, you get someone of that creative role, right? Pipeline dream. I'm just talking, right? Pipeline dream, right? But you get someone of, I'm not saying of like Modric's caliber, but someone that can fill in a role like that. You know what I mean? That we're able to outlet, we're able to create. Like, he's looking to give it to our wingers so that we can find people, and we just don't really have that. We don't have that. So I think it's a little bit frustrating watching this team week in and week out, because it's hard to watch a team that's leaking goals, and unfortunately the chances that we create, we don't take advantage of it. And it's been our massive downfall, because I feel like at least at the beginning of the year there was a couple games where we should have gotten more out of, but there's something missing, and we can't figure it out. I couldn't tell you right now what needs to be done to fix this roster.
Yeah.
So
maybe just time. Maybe just time. We'll see. I think it'll really depend. Yeah, we'll find out. I'm gonna predict this game. I'm gonna predict this game to be a 1-0 Chicago win. I'm gonna back you, John. I'm gonna back your boys. I'm trying to give them credit wherever I can. I think, but at the end of the day, this is the perfect opponent for a midweek game where I think maybe the fans aren't. Yeah,
it's bound time. You gotta win somewhere.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah, you gotta win somewhere.
You know what's crazy? Chicago was out here giving out free tickets. Like I received 2 free tickets in my email to this game. Which, I mean, I'm not going because it's midweek, but like, if you're really trying to re-engage the fans and you're giving out free tickets like that, I think that kind of tells you where we're kind of at as a club.
Yeah, but I think Chicago's had that problem for a while. I will say this though: you haven't made the investments into the actual sporting side of the club until recently, right? So they're trying to build something, and I want to give credit where credit's due. So I also don't back Charlotte, like in any epic way. I rate Dean Smith, but I still think Charlotte's kind of narrowly edging out victories, and their away form speaks against them. It could be a draw, but I'm going to say Chicago Fire 1-0. How do the rest of you guys see it before we move on? Yeah, no, you're on mute. You're on mute.
You're muted, man.
I don't have anything nice to say about Chicago, so I kind of just reserve.
Why is that? Why? Okay. Why is that? Why is that?
You just explained it in detail, brother. I think you gave us a perfect firsthand review of what it is to be a Fire fan. Keep that away from me. I don't want that. Keep that away from
respect. I like that.
Damn,
like
that's wild. Given the fact that I've been so nice to your club, that is crazy.
Draw.
Okay. Hey, that's a little bit of credit actually from Hernan.
That is credit from Hernan.
It's gonna be a boring 0-0. Like you asked me if I'm watching this tomorrow, probably not.
Respect.
I'll watch it for you, John. Honda, how you see this one going, bro?
Listen, I could see that happening at 0-0 because they tied versus Atlanta United. So I mean, Atlanta United away from home, they're shit. AJ will tell you that as well too. But I can't see Chicago Fire winning 1-0. That's why I'm going to go with the 1-0 as well too.
You know what? You know what? Now you got me thinking a little bit. You got me.
Oh God, the back pedal. Let's go. What is it?
You got me thinking a little bit. People, I've heard from actual players, by the way. People hate going to play at Soldier Field, by the way. Just because we don't really have sprinklers. We have we got like someone out there with the fucking hose. Yeah, no, I'm being serious.
I believe you. I'm still laughing. It's so funny.
Players don't.
Hey, that's why Messi didn't want to go because of the sprinklers. That's why.
Probably, but this I don't want to say who because I don't know if I'm able to announce or say who said it. But there's multiple players across the league that don't like playing at Soldier Field because the pitch is just weird. It's weird. It's something with the grass. That's what I was told.
Because it's
American footy, American football.
Yeah, it's something with the grass is just not. It's not built for football.
Yeah,
but. With that being said, maybe we get a 1-0. I don't know.
All right, Josh, on a little bit of faith. I like it. Either a 1-0, maybe and I get it right with the draw. Either way, maybe snooze fest potential. We'll see how it all nets out. Finally, the last matchup in detail before quickfire. Minnesota United hosting LA Galaxy. Top 3 matchup in the West. A banger of a game. Both teams sitting on 20 points. Both in very interesting runs of form. I will say this, though. Minnesota United, I've noted it in the graphic that you see on your screen. They have not played in 10 days, 11 days actually by tomorrow. So the last win they had, 2-1 win over Atlanta, fresh legs. Meanwhile, Galaxy kind of pulling a draw out of their ass. They were down 2-0 to RSL. I was living in dreamland. I had RSL absolutely smacking the Galaxy. And then the Galaxy kind of shut me up a little bit. They came back, netted out a very late 2-2 result against a great RSL team. And now we have a matchup on our hands where one of these teams, could easily be top dog in the West when everything's kind of all said and done. The winner of this match will definitely take sole control of second, but depending on how the RSL Seattle match kind of works out, could be in control of the West fully by the end of Wednesday night. So we'll see how it all nets out. Galaxy have now scored in the last 2 away matches. That is a little bit concerning. But the beauty of this from a neutral fan's perspective, these teams have not drawn any of the last 3 matches against one another. And in each of those 3 matches, there's been at least 5 goals scored total in each one of those 3. There was an 8-goal banger in one of them. So goals just might be on the agenda for this one all the way around. 2 top dogs in the West. Ednan, let's start with you, brother.
Yeah.
Do you really see this going any way, shape, or form in Galaxy's way? I feel like what Minnesota have right now at home, recent form going in their favor. I feel like they're a clear favorite, but maybe I'm wrong. How do you see this one going?
Man, I would want the Galaxy, to kind of get this win or get at least a draw away from home, just because of what they mean to the MLS. And, whenever the Galaxy is good, it just seems like the league gets more exposure, maybe more eyes on it. But, sure. Minnesota is a team that has kind of flown under the radar for me. We did have to play them home opener at Q2 Stadium. They beat Austin FC 2-1, very late goal by Austin. So it really was a 2-0 throughout the whole match. And it had a lot of Austin FC fans thinking, hey, where does this team at if we're losing to Minnesota United, who doesn't have a coach at the time, on home opener when the stadium was packed, the energy is there. But now I see that they're second in the West at this point in the season, and it just kind of brings me back on a full circle. Hey, I kind of got to respect this team. Now maybe I'm looking at that loss on home opening night in a different light. You know, I don't know if you can go that much far back, but Minnesota United, a team that you gotta respect 100%. You know, we've made fun of them because of the Reynoso situation, everything going on with him. But credit to this team for being able to keep their mindset and their goals in front of them, and being able to say, hey, we're not going to let the outside noise kind of hurt us in the locker room and on the pitch, and we're going to go out there and execute whatever game plan that the gaffer sets out. As of late, the game plan has been fantastic. You look at the numbers here; they're second in the West, 20 points. The record is 6-2-2. It's tough for the Galaxy, especially away from home. Just like I said, I would like to see the Galaxy win or get some kind of result for our friend here, Mr. Hitman Honda. But it's going to be a tough one, mate. It's going to be a tough one. I think Galaxy needs their usual suspects to get back in line, to get back into their tip-top performing shape, because I think they kind of dropped down a bit. Maybe it wasn't their choice. There was some suspensions and some injuries and stuff like that. But once the Galaxy gets that clicking once again, and they're flying high like they were a couple weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it'll be a different Galaxy. But as for this game, my prediction, I would love for it to go to LA, but I think I see Minnesota win. Best case scenario for LA would be a draw.
Yeah, I'm somewhat inclined to agree with you. John, how do you see this one going, bro?
Give me the Loons.
The Loons.
I'll take the Loons. I don't know. There's something about Minnesota this year. They feel like they've been this. So they showed me something that I haven't seen out of them in a couple years. You know,
they said, "Fuck Reynoso, bro. We're gonna do this anyway."
Like they are really showing up as a team, as a collective unit. They pulled out a win, didn't they? Did they pull? Was it the draw that they pulled out against Columbus, or was that the win? That was a draw, right?
It was a draw. Yeah, it was a draw. It was a draw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've seen them pull out results against strong sides this year. I think Galaxy is a very strong side, but I think Minnesota kind of backs themselves at home this week. You know, it's midweek. Galaxy are traveling.
To the Midwest.
Yeah, it's a bit of a travel. So not that I have anything against Galaxy. I firmly like their squad. I like what I'm seeing from them. They're very positive. But unfortunately, you're traveling midweek on the road against a very comfortable, very good-looking Minnesota United team. So I don't think it'll be anything that will say Minnesota's going to blow them out the water, but I think it might be one of those like 3-2, type of results where it'll be close, but I expect there to be goals.
Yeah, strong game of the week potential. Honda, your boys, man, how are they going to do this one? They got Joveljic back now, finally, right? They didn't have the greatest game against RSL, but I think they had a game plan for him, and him coming off of, some rust a little bit, missing some games. I give him benefit of the doubt in this last one. I think he has to show up in a big way against Minnesota. So on the road, I think you've been pretty realistic with your take so far on the Galaxy. How do you see this one going?
Joveljic is coming off of an injury, right? So he didn't really play to like his expected self, although he did have quite a few shots versus Real Salt Lake in the first few minutes. I like what they did against Real Salt Lake in like the first 20 or 30 minute span, but then Real Salt Lake obviously took over, Chicho Arango scoring his 2 goals, right? We just need to fix up the key passes and defensively as well too, because Aude, he was out of place whenever he had I forgot the Real Salt Lake's right wing, but literally Gomez paced on the wing, and like Aude is quick, but he wasn't as quick. I don't know if Minnesota have players like that as well, but if they do catch him off again, it's going to be a very difficult time. And Marquis Delgado, Jesus Christ, the amount of passes that he would give up, like, dude, I was pissed. I was all over the Twitter timeline. I'm like, bro, get this man off the pitch. Bring Cerillo on. And you know what? If they start Cerillo, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
I think at the beginning of the game, Delgado had some howlers with his passing, but he got better as the game went on. I think he was almost 90%. It was like 88%, something like that, in terms of his passing accuracy. Like he has his moments, but I still think the 3 worst players that the Galaxy probably had in that game against RSL were Joveljic because of the rust, and then your 2 center backs. Jalen Neal coming off of injury, a long-term injury, and then Yoshida is the most stable option in that back line. It's just like, I don't know, sometimes he's at fault for situations that really aren't his fault. He's just kind of the benefactor there. But regardless, right? I think those are only 3 weak spots against RSL. I think for the most part, the team collectively played decently well. So I actually have this game breaking the streak and ending in a draw. But I think it's going to be like a 2-2. Like I think this game's gonna have goals. It's gonna be fireworks. I think it's gonna be game of the week. I just think it's gonna be 2-2, and we see these teams stay in the same place they are currently in the table, which I think to me is accurate. Minnesota being 2 and Galaxy being 3.
Yeah, I see a draw, but I'm gonna go with 1 extra for each 3-3.
That'd be a banger. John, you said the Loons, correct? What was the score?
Yeah, I said like 2-1, 3-2 type of thing.
One thing as well too, right? Miguel Berry, finally, thank you for listening.
Miguel Berry.
Listen, you saved us. You might have to save us again, all right?
And Ednan, you backed a draw, I think it was. Yeah, a draw. So yeah, we'll see how it all nets out, boys. I think mostly draw, but if the Loons were able to pull it out, it wouldn't surprise anybody. If the Galaxy were to get a very impressive road win here, I think it signals intent from what Vanny's side wanted to do.
Happening just as an LA Galaxy fan, but at the same time, I gotta be a little bit realistic.
That's fair, bro. That's fair. Two good teams. I don't think a draw is like knocking either one of them. All right, lads, let's go into quick fire predictions, and then we are out of here. All right, let's tee them up. Quick fire. First one up, Montreal, Columbus.
Oh,
yeah,
draw.
Right? I don't know. Interesting, right? Yeah. At home in Canada.
Off one.
You know what? Because Montreal fans already hate me. Fuck Montreal. We're going Columbus.
Bro, come on, man. Right,
bro, they were hating on me for no reason. I was just backing my team, and they're over here getting all mad and shit.
Bro, I thought they were gonna beat Miami. I thought they were. When it was 2-0, I was like, oh shit. And I had them winning. I was the only one who had them winning, and then Messi proved me wrong as he does. But I'm gonna say Montreal. I'm gonna say 2-1. And Columbus getting their first back-to-back L's in quite some time.
He just doesn't want to read hate in French. Like that's sorry.
No, bro. I've been giving Montreal respect since Dallas lost in the week 2. Since I saw them in person, I was like, bro, this is actually a decent team.
John, Jose today has proven that he is more of a Chicago Fire fan than you are right now.
That's fine.
True. That's another fine. W. Hey, another W from Honda. Another W. All right, lads. So I have Montreal. Who do you guys have? I know John has Columbus.
I got a draw.
Give me Columbus.
John saying Columbus after all the abuse he's taken from the crew over the years is wild to me. I'm just gonna say that.
Hey, listen, we're gonna be taking more on Saturday. Don't worry about that.
I feel like that one was a weird MLS game, bro.
It was. Cincinnati hosting Atlanta. Cincy for Ednan. All right. I actually backed Cincy this one too. Atlanta's in a weird run of form. They lost back-to-back home games now. I think Atlanta.
Sorry, AJ.
Right yeah,
my
AJ would even agree, bro. AJ would agree.
He would agree.
It's on the road.
And keep in mind, when Cincinnati played, I think they've already played once this season at ATL. I think they won that game too. So
although I could see there being a little draw, but
maybe. But I think the TQL, since he should win this one, I think. So we'll see what happens. It could be close. All right, Orlando hosting Miami, Battle of Florida again. And last time was a fucking shit show for Orlando, bro.
Last time it was a shit show. I think they're gonna be coming back and storming it. I'm gonna take Orlando.
Hey, listen, Orlando beat Philly. You know what? Prove yourselves. Orlando again. Come on.
Ooh.
Hey, Connor, I got your back. Okay.
We got your back.
Isn't there's multiple questionable players for Miami in this game. Messi's questionable. I believe Suarez might be, but I know Messi for a fact is questionable.
Interesting.
I'm taking them both off of my fantasy team then.
Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact, Messi's questionable. I'm trying to think of who else is big that they might be missing. Gomez.
Bro, no Messi, no party. That's it.
Yeah, that's probably. I think the other Barca boys are probably fine, but I did hear Messi was questionable. Yeah, with something.
What have I've been saying? I've been saying no Messi, no party for
I think it depends on who they play. I don't think you just say outright they're not going to be good without Messi. Like it depends on.
No, but this is a very good Orlando side. Like I get it, they haven't shown it right now, but on paper they're a very good side.
All right. They've gotten better. Nico's starting to come into rhythm. Give me a high scoring draw.
Okay. All right. That's not a bad shout. I'm actually going to go with the other two Miami haters and go with Orlando. I think they're just getting better. And they're at home. I think that this has to be a revenge game for them. Bulletin board material from the last game.
You're not going to back your boys, though? You got the Miami.
My single boy, Messi might be out.
No, it's not your single boy. Boys and
Barca boys. I mean, that's fair. It's so like I said, revenge games to me mean something in MLS. They really do. Like I think I said it even in the last game when Dallas took on Austin. I think the Austin win, the L that we took to Austin at the Q2 sat right here, and I think that we played a different way, despite them dominating for a good amount of that time.
I wish that worked like that for my club, but my club don't win any rivalry games, and they know revenge games.
It happens, bro. It happens. Philly hosting NYCFC. This one's kind of tricky for me, actually, because Philly's in a weird spot, bro. They're so mid.
You know what? Philly fans already hate us. They're mid. NYCFC. I'm gonna just.
But you're gonna back New York City on the road. It's just like it's hard for me.
I was the only one. I was the only one.
Yes,
that
I know.
New York City
You
on the
were
road.
the only one. 100%. I agree with that.
And I was right. And this is. Let this begin.
They're top 5 in the East, bro. This is so weird to me. It's so fucking weird, bro.
Let this begin. Not only is this
Philly is
my agenda against Jim Curtin, but it's also my new agenda of Santi Rodriguez. So for that reason, New York City FC.
Yes. Yes, John.
It's crazy that without Maxi Morales, bro, they are 4 out of the last 5 dubs. Like it's insane. Yeah, I mean, fuck.
They're letting Santi cook. They're letting Santi cook.
I'm gonna back NYC, I guess. I'll go with John. I'll lead into that skid. Yeah, I'm gonna say something close, like a 2-1. I think Philly scores at home, 100%. But maybe
New York City. They score at home, but man,
New York should get the dub for the culture, bro, for the vibes.
Yeah.
Ernan, how you had this one going?
On this one, the Philly New York City FC, mate. I got Philly on this one. Might be a hot take, but I think Philly edges out New York City FC.
It's not a hot take.
No, it's not a hot take.
Although they just released their supporter section renderings and stuff for New York. It looks kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie.
Philly also keep in mind, by the way, they're winless in the last 5. So
winless in the last 5.
In the last 5,
what? They lost
3 L's and 2 draws.
Like they lost to Seattle, they lost to Orlando.
Yeah, at some point they have to break that. They're not going to keep, not winning forever. And not to be on something right there. It could happen against this team at home. So,
or it could be the start of the downfall for Jim Curtin.
The hot seat's getting hotter. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Bro, I'll be the first one to fucking light the torch on that seat, bro. I'll be the first one.
Nashville hosting Toronto.
This is like a boring draw.
Yeah.
Boring draw. Boring
draw.
I really want to back Toronto, but Nashville is at home, and you know what?
No, but Toronto's got all those players suspended.
Yeah. They had
isn't it recommended? Yeah. Isn't it recommended suspension, or are they suspended?
No, they're suspended. Look,
Okay.
After the altercation, these are the suspended issues by MLS disciplinary committee. So Larea 3, Owosu 2 games, Sean Johnson 1, Herdman 1. And then the guy from NYCFC 2.
You know what?
Games.
Fuck, Nashville might win. Nashville might win. Like, yeah, just hearing that list, I'm like, bro, yeah, 1,000%. I think they might win this.
Hey, man, actually, yeah, give it to Nashville. I don't know. I just where are the goals coming from? I don't know. But
bro, I mean,
we said that in Nashville versus San Jose, and look where the goals were.
They pumped them in. Yeah, I mean, finally, right? Finally,
fair enough. Take Nashville.
I'll take Nashville, like a 1-0 or something like that.
For the first time ever, jeez. Nashville.
that is a lot. That is a lot of players, big players out. By the way.
Yeah, I know. Colorado versus Vancouver.
Give me Vancouver.
See, that's what
Colorado's
that way, but like,
bro.
Vancouver.
So weird.
Colorado are just so back and forth. I don't know what the fuck to expect from this team week in and week out.
Give me Vancouver.
They lose to San Jose. They beat LAFC. They lose to.
But that's what I mean. Because of this inconsistency, and I feel like Vancouver's a little bit more consistent.
To an extent, Vancouver is the last 3 have been an L and 2 draws, but it has been to the Red Bulls, the Austin FC, the draw, and then they lost to LAFC. So it's like they had pretty good teams in there.
It's been consistently mid. So off of this point, maybe it's draw. I don't know.
I'm going to back Vancouver. I'm going to back Vancouver. I think that they'll turn it around this one. I think Sartini's going to be drilling that message into the team this week, considering how good they've been.
Okay, I'm fine with Vancouver. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Colorado, but
Colorado.
It could go either way, man. It's just weird. Colorado's weird, man.
Yeah, don't sit on the fence though, bro. Pick one. Or you're going draw. Okay, Colorado. Okay, Colorado, and then John, you're Vancouver.
Yeah, I'll go Vancouver.
And 3 Vancouvers. I like it, bro. I like it. Salt Lake versus Seattle.
Come on now, this is easy. Salt Lake, come on
now. Seattle. No, I'm kidding.
They turned it around. They went down early to Portland, but it's Portland. And they turned it around in that rivalry game. But I think that this one to me is pretty straightforward. They got Ongo and
Salt Lake is not going to make the same mistakes.
Yeah, but they ain't like that, bro. Seattle ain't like that, bro.
And Salt Lake, they're not going to make the same mistakes. Like what Hannah just said, they're not going to fuck up like Portland did. And then final game: Portland hosting San Jose. A very different look. San Jose. The Quakes have turned it on recently on the back of that crazy LAFC dub.
I don't.
I'm gonna back San Jose.
I'm back
It sounds
Jose,
weird.
though.
It sounds weird. It sounds weird.
It sounds a little weird, but like it's not crazy. Just considering
crazy.
that they're on back-to-back wins and they're undefeated in the last 3. There was a draw right before that against Nashville. So yeah, I mean Portland's literally the only team below them. Yeah, I think we back San Jose. You're on the road. Lucci Gonzalez, for the first time on this show, collectively we are backing you, except for Honda because of the Cali Classical bullshit. But I mean, at the end of the day, like that rivalry is the only thing keeping Honda from actually backing the Quakes.
Yep, pretty much.
I don't blame you, man.
So Honda, a Portland win or a draw?
I'm gonna go with the draw.
Okay.
that's the best result he's giving San Jose.
Yeah, that's the best, most credit he's ever given that team. All right, lads, that is it. Those are our quick fire predictions. That was a great video, man. I think all in all, John joined a little bit late, but we'll take it, bro. I think the banter and the discussion would not be the same without him. So we're glad that you made it in, bro. And look, man, rivalry week still upon us. And again, a very weird week. There's a second video coming on this channel towards the end of the week ahead of the Saturday slate of matches, but for match day 14, middle of the week, those matches happen at the time of the video being published Wednesday. Keep an eye out for it and hold us accountable. Again, as I mentioned at the top of the video, Ednon's personal account not being used a ton at the moment right now in the back of that FC Dallas win. We'll see kind of how the incoming weeks really net out for that. But we are Austin TV. If you want to hit him up, that is the place to go find him. And as you can see on your screen, each one of the guys on the screen has their handle, their name, however you want to find them on social media. Go check them out. Again, Wake Up MLS bringing you weekly predictions for Major League Soccer week in and week out. The only show that offers the banter, discussion, debate every single week. For Wake Up MLS, my name is Jose. That's Honda. That's Ednon. That's John. We'll catch you guys next time.